letting that man anywhere
School
near.
district.
I'm an elementary principal at Hillcrest Elementary School in Peekskill, and I've been a principal there for 8 years. And that in and of itself is a very active and full day right there. But I look forward to coaching football. I can't wait to get outside and work with the high school kids, and we have a lot of fun.
And yeah, I can imagine getting away from the little ones who can just about drive you crazy all day with the cuts and the bruises and the bumps. And Roger Lounsberry, I know last time I saw you were over at Uriah Hill School. You still there?
Well, I used to switch between schools, but now I'm at Hillcrest School full-time every day. I've been there
You're up with Vinny.
Yes, yeah. We both work out of the same building.
Is it the mad dash as to who gets out of the building first over to the football field, or is it kind of quiet?
No, Roger's always over there first, and Roger and Bob Smalt start practice, and I join them around 4 o'clock.
Then you have a couple other assistant coaches who aren't here this evening. Why don't you tell us who they are? I know who they are, but...
Okay. Bob Smalt has been an assistant coach at Peekskill. This is his 3rd year. He's also the athletic director.
Right.
And Bob works with the line primarily and does an excellent job. And we have a volunteer coach this year also, Nick Perrell. And Nick was my former high school coach at Peekskill in 1963, and did an outstanding job at Lakeland before that, and of course at Horace Greeley.
Powerhouse is down at Horace Greeley High School.
He's working with us also, and that's great.
I would presume, and Roger, you can even attest to this, that having Nick on the staff, and like you say, a volunteer, has really helped out taking some of the burden probably off your shoulders.
It does. It gives you another pair of experienced eyes out there during practice, and it's quite helpful.
Just kind of recap the season. Started off basically on the wrong foot for the Red Devils. You went 0-1 first week against Tappan Zee.
Well, Tappan Zee they're an excellent team, and we have a small squad this year, and we had a few fellas that were not able to play in the first game, not making an excuse because they are a very good club. And it was 6-6 through the first half and into the 3rd quarter. And the final score was 20-6. They scored twice in the 4th quarter and won the game.
Roger, tell us about the following game, or the following games. You fellows know the scores off the top of your head. We don't get a chance to study them that much.
Well, we seemed to pick it up. We had our starting units intact, and the fellows just built a little confidence every week. I think they were a little more confident in what they could do, and things worked out quite a bit better.
This past week against Lourdes, you had, from what I understand, an excellent game, offensively and defensively. Turned the ball over quite a few times, or forced the turnovers, and were able to capitalize on those.
We had spent a lot of time the previous week working on special teams, and people don't realize how important special teams are. 1 out of 5 plays is a special team play. Either you're punting the ball or receiving the punt, kicking off, receiving the kickoff, a goal line, and so forth. And our special teams played outstanding ball last week. Every time we received the ball, it was in great field position. We had the ball from 2 kickoffs at midfield. And, of course, we had a punt block. And that turned the game around for us, and we came up with the victory.
Today's game, you're going to be playing Poughkeepsie High School, and they've had their problems in the past. As a matter of fact, I think they won 1 game. They've beaten Panis, and I think that was the first time this year that they have scored. We saw them against Hendrick Hudson, and it was a game in which the Sailors, oddly enough, have been involved in 5 shutouts this year. All 5 of their games have been by shutout. They've lost 3 of them by shutout, and they've won the other 2. Hendrick Hudson handled the Pioneers pretty handily. Have you scouted? Have you had anybody up scouting them, or just watching some of their films?
Well, we sent our scouts. We have them twice on film because, coincidentally, they were playing Kennedy the week before we played Kennedy. So we had an opportunity to see them on a dry field. And then, of course, last week against Panis. And they do some things very well. They run the option. They were effective with the option against Kennedy and also against Panis. The quarterback likes to run with the ball. He'll roll out. He'll fake on the option and carry. And they can certainly throw the ball downfield. He has an excellent arm. They did score a couple of touchdowns that were called back. They jumped out ahead of Kennedy. Unfortunately, there was a clip, unfortunately for Poughkeepsie, and that touchdown was called back. Had nothing to do with the play. But one of the trailing blockers just got a little excited and tried to make a block through a clip. But we have a lot of respect for Poughkeepsie. They're going to be a tough team. They hit hard. They play a tough defense, and they don't give up.
We noticed that, again, at Henrik Hudson, defensively, like you mentioned, playing hard. The offense, I thought, sputtered at times, and with the rush that the Sailors were putting on the Pioneers quarterback, he just wasn't getting the time to get in there and pass. So I guess this is like any quarterback, especially in the high school level. You don't give him the time to pass, and he's going to throw that ball anywhere he can. Roger, your offense this year has just been outstanding. Tell us about your keys to your offensive backfield.
Well, I think the keys to our whole offense is the fact that we are able to mix it up a little bit. We run inside, we run outside, and we like to throw the ball. So I don't think an opposition can really just key on one thing with us.
Can't key on one particular running back either when you've got a couple of horses back there who are burning up the yardage.
And I think this year the backs have blocked a lot better for each other. So we're getting good key blocks right out of the backfield.
So if you're sending one either Patterson or Covington into the hole, you've got the other kid blocking for him, opening up. So they're not going to key on the first man through. Quarterback P.J. Mail, we've seen him now. This is second year that we're going to get a chance to look at him. He's not bashful about throwing the ball. That's one thing we know about P.J. He loves to throw it, and I thought he has a strong, accurate arm. He's got to be a lot stronger than he was last year anyway. And P.J., I found, can put the ball in the air deep, and he can throw it short with accuracy. Some of your comments about P.J. and his receivers also.
Well, I think P.J. has developed where he has the ability to really read downfield. Coach Buranno mentioned before, he has a set where he reads before the play is being run, and he can look downfield and read the defense. He's gotten better at that. And he has a knack of putting the ball in some tight spots, especially down near the goal line. And he likes to air it out. He likes to go back there and throw the ball deep, and he has receivers that can go get it.
Vinny, the receivers, Brad Wheeler.
Brad Wheeler is an excellent receiver. He is our left end. He's caught, I believe, 13 passes, a couple of touchdowns, conversions. He's a good blocker as well. It's difficult to key on him because if you key on Brad on the right side, we have Mookie Wilson. Mookie's caught touchdown passes. He's an excellent blocker, runs good patterns, excellent speed for both of them. And our slot back's very good. It's Peter Diak, and also Tony Viola has an excellent pair of hands.
The statistics on P.J. Mail this year, throwing for touchdowns a lot, or is he just kind of mixing up the offense where he's able to run the ball on that 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 average that you would rather have than putting the ball in the air?
Well, I think the thing that P.J. has been doing very well this year is consistency. He hasn't been making the turnover. He hasn't been throwing the interception. He's been selecting the correct receiver, which is a tough thing to do. And if no one's open, he'll take it and run with the ball because he can run.
We've gotten through some of the offense. We're going to get back to the offensive line and the defense right after we come back from these important messages. Talking to Coach Vincent Buranno, the Peekskill High School Red Devils, and his assistant Roger Lounsberry. Vinny and Roger, we were talking about just previously the backfield, the offensive backfield. Let's talk about the guys up front because we very seldom get them recognition, and without those fellows opening up the holes, the runner's not going to be able to get through there.
That's for sure. We have a very experienced offensive line this year, and they're playing very well together as a unit, and you're quite right. Without the blockers up front, the running back's not going to get any yardage. We have our guards, Brian Quall and Richie Swan, are doing a great job for us. They're excellent, very quick. They pull out, they trap very well, they lead the sweep very well. Our two tackles, Anthony DeBruzzo and Bubba Skaggs, are doing a great job for us. And they're very strong, and they can handle even bigger men. And our center, Andy Lee, has been doing an excellent job. And they're experienced. 4 out of the 5 are seniors. And for Bubba, he's a junior, but this is his second year on varsity. So we do have a veteran line.
Yeah, I remember Bubba from last year. He looks like he should be playing in the college level or the pro level size-wise right now. I mean, he's big. He's a big kid. Is there a lot of muscle with Bubba, or is it...
Bubba is very strong, and he works at it. And during the off-season, he did a lot of exercise, lifting weights, jumping ropes, and you know he was an excellent wrestler last year, and that helped his speed and agility. So he's really been working very hard, and he's earned a spot, and he's really contributing.
All the names that you were mentioning on the offensive line and your backfield, of course, remember them from last year. So you've got a well-balanced, experienced team, and off to a 4-1 start. This is, I don't remember the last time the Red Devils were off to a 4-1 start. Now, of course, you've got to keep the momentum going with your kids. You're going to have a short work week this week because of the fact that your game against Lords was canceled last Saturday and had to be replayed Monday because of the weather. How are the kids, Roger, taking practice this week? Do they know when to turn it on and off? Or are they taking this Poughkeepsie team very seriously?
Well, sometimes they seem to think they know when to turn it on and off, but I think with the veterans we have on the team, they know that anything can happen. I think we've seen a lot of that this year, right through our conference and other conference, that teams are beating other teams that aren't necessarily picked to do so. And I think this win against Panis last week was a big confidence builder for Poughkeepsie, and we've got to play tough.
I think a confidence builder for your team after coming off that loss against Tappan Zee was going out and beating John F. Kennedy, and that had to be a very big confidence builder for you guys, and it looks like it got you off back on the right foot again.
Oh yeah, Kennedy has a nice ball club, and they're tough, they're very well disciplined, and it was important to get that first win. And once you get that first win, you don't play quite as tight. Everything's a little looser, and you flow better, and I think you perform better. So that was a big one.
Excuse me. One of the problems, and it's not only in Peekskill, it's a lot of the schools, it's the size of the squad. You just don't have the luxury anymore of having an offensive team out there and then a defensive team. You've got to play kids both ways. Again, that conditioning comes into this throughout the season, and it's not just, well, let's get ready for football season and we'll knock it off after November is over with. Your kids have to stay in shape constantly throughout the year.
That's true. A lot of the kids do play other sports, so they're pretty active all year long. During the summer, Peekskill offers a weightlifting program for any athlete. The boys and the girls, if they like to weightlift, it's in the evening. Many of the football players do that. We also encourage them to work out on their own, do some running, and it's important because if you're in good shape, you reduce the chance of injury to yourself.
Roger, defensively, bad weakness in the Peekskill defense, or is it just a little nickel and dime here where you can get away with a bad play every now and then?
Well, I think our defense is, once again, we have veteran players there at positions they've played before. We give sometimes. We'll give up a few yards here, a first down there, here and there, but we don't give up the big one too often. We don't give up the big play, and the fellows play very well together. So if something goes down, a team gets a first down, we're able to come back and regroup.
How many times in the past have we seen a lot of the Peekskill teams, they've got a drive going or they're doing well defensively, and then you look down and the yellow flag is on the field?
We get our share.
How about this year? Have you had your share this year?
We get our share of those.
Major penalties or just a minor offsides encroachment, which to me, I still don't like the rule. I don't care what other people say. I think the encroachment, to give the kid a chance to get back out of the neutral zone. But have there been a lot of minor penalties, or major penalties, or is it just the minor ones that are getting
Actually, I think we've done pretty well penalty-wise. We don't have the foolish penalty that much. Playing pretty tight football. I don't think we've suffered too poorly by the penalty this year.
Of course, on a high school level, it gets heated at times, and that's when you talk about foolish penalties. Somebody's just liable to say something or do something, or that face mask, or the roughing the quarterback that's going to cost you the 15 yards, and especially 15-yard penalties, they got to kill you. They got to kill you.
All the time. They always come back to haunt you. We've been fortunate, as Coach said, because I think the kids are really are focusing more on what they're doing, and when you focus, you may make an aggressive error, and that we kind of overlook. But those holes or the unnecessary roughness, those are the ones that are tough to overcome.
Just a couple of seconds, we're going to talk about something that you might have up your sleeve for this game and something for next week's game against Rye, but we've got to give them some very important messages. We'll be right back. In talking with Coach Vince Buranno and Coach Roger Lounsberry, one of the keys to the Peekskill success this year, as we had mentioned earlier, was defense. But I'd like to kind of, gentlemen, dwell a little more on the defensive team. Again, this is, we talk about kids playing both ways, offensively and defensively, but I'm sure, fortunately for you, you don't have the same 11 guys going both ways, offensively and defensively. Why don't you tell us about, let's talk about the entire defensive team.
All right. We have a total squad of 23 players this year, which is a very small squad. And we really don't have two teams or two units per se. We have a starting unit offensively and the reserves, and a starting unit defensively and reserves. And we try to get a lot of kids involved in the action and let them feel a part of it. And they are all contributing, all 23 of the kids. On defense right now, we have two very good inside linebackers. Khalil Covington plays inside linebacker, and also another fellow by the name of Jimmy Zambrano. And Jimmy's a tough tackler, gets down very low, and has been doing an excellent job for us. And he also is a pretty good offensive ball player. He's can play either tailback, which he has, or fullback, and he scored a couple of touchdowns for us this year, so he's doing a great job. In the secondary, I'll like to defer to Coach on that, since he's basically responsible for the secondary. You talk a little bit about that, because that was one unit that was really difficult to fill this year.
Well, again, we have Peter Diak back at safety, and Peter does a tremendous job there. I believe he was all-league last year. And not only does he do a very good job on pass coverage, but he's an excellent tackler. He comes up, when he reads the play, he comes up and tackles, and he's like another linebacker on the field. We have Clarence Smith, who plays, I guess, what we call a strong cornerback. We usually put him on the other team's leading receiver. And Clarence has done a tremendous job. He's a top athlete, and he's done the job every week. And on the other side, Brad Wheeler is playing the other cornerback spot. And Brad made the change from outside linebacker, as we were very low in this position on a defensive secondary, so we moved Brad back there, and he was an excellent outside linebacker, and now he's playing the corner because that's where we needed him.
Your defense, you and I were talking about this prior to when we filmed this program this evening. Basically a zone defense, or are you strictly man-to-man, or are you kind of mingling it in each way? Or is it toss the coin? Well, again, this is being taped, so we're not going to be giving away any secrets.
No, actually, we'll play man and we'll zone it, and we'll combo it sometimes. It's really not answering your question, I guess.
Well, it does, yes.
we will play man and we will play zone, and we will mix it up. I don't think you can always play the same way for every particular play. And depending on the formation, you have to come up with what you feel is the best defense for that particular formation, and that's what we try to do.
One of the only teams to play last week after the massive rains that I'd like to call monsoons, was Hendrick Hudson. They played against Somers, and I noticed both of you down there scouting it. We saw Somers run the option play and ran it quite well in the first half. The Sailors did cut it down in the second half. And, excuse me, Roger and I were talking about whose responsibility it is to come up and pick up the option. And this is something that you see it mainly on the high school, on the college level, especially down the southern schools. And the quarterback rolls out, and first of all, the end is the key. You're mentioning, Roger, that if that end doesn't get blocked, it's the run option at that point. It's the option with the running back as the trailer. Now the outside linebacker, he's got to stay. He can't pinch in. He's got to stay on the outside. How about the safeties or the corners? Can they come up, or do they've got to read their key with the ends running their patterns?
Well, their first responsibility is always pass. So if the receivers break off the line, which many times they do, just to run our corners off the ball, the corners have to respect that. They have to take their two-step drop. They have to cover their man and be sure the ball is going to cross the line of scrimmage, because the quarterback could pitch it out and you could have an option pass. There are other possibilities, and you never want to give up all 6 points on one play. So
So actually, there are a bunch of fellas out there who've got to read their assignments.
Oh yes, every play.
The corners have got to read the ends. The defensive end has got to read whether he's blocked or not. If he's not blocked, then he's got to stay with the quarterback. The outside linebacker, he's got to stay with the trailer, so to speak. The other guys in the middle of the line, I guess they just knock each other around and.
No, they have their assignments as well. When you play the option, what you have to do is you have to examine the option. There's three things that are going to happen that you think, well, that are possible. I guess Coach mentioned that you could have a fake pass off of it. But basically, the fullback's going to carry the ball, or the pitchback's going to carry the ball, or the quarterback's going to carry the ball. So you have to defend all three plays. And if it's a true option, at the snap of the ball, no one knows what's going to happen. And so we have two men on the fullback, we have one man on the quarterback, and we have one man on the pitchback. That's their primary responsibility. And then, of course, you have other people scraping and pursuing to the flow. So, but that's the way you have to play it. And if it's a true option, as I say, the fullback may get the ball. And all three people have to expect that they're going to carry. And the quarterback has to make the reads. If he sees a good block at the line of scrimmage, the fullback will keep it. If not, he pulls it back in. Now, if everyone goes for that play, he's wide open.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened last Saturdays very often.
You mentioned before about pursuing. Have the Red Devils been guilty of over pursuing this year?
No.
No, they've been staying at home then. And
we have certain people that pursue, and we have certain people that stay home. And it's very important that you play your assignment and you play your position. And sometimes you can get caught up and you get very anxious and you want to get to the ball, because we do emphasize, everyone has to come to the ball. We want to see 6, 7, 8 people to the ball. But there are other people that have to stay back, and they have to be disciplined, and they have to wait for their turn. But it'll come, and when it comes, they make a big play.
Well, yeah, the over pursuit, of course, then you're going to get killed on an end around or on a reverse or something of that sort. As you gentlemen know, my favorite plays during the course of a year are the draw on the screen. I love them. I love them. And but you look at it. If you've got a draw called or a screen, whatever, and if you're not reading blitz, you're going to get hurt in a play like that. What are your thoughts as far as the screen? PJ has run it before. You've not so much PJ, but your past teams have run that screen and run it well. I've seen times where it's gone for a lot of yardage, but only again you look down and the penalty flag is there.
I think we scored 2 touchdowns off of the screen.
I can remember, yes, 2 of them.
And so the screen has been a good play for us. We've also gotten beat for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Well, and also the offensive linemen on the screen, they've got to be very careful. As to how they've got to make it look pass, of course, but then again, they've got to get out. And unless the offensive linemen don't hold that block, they don't hold it for that extra second, 2 or 3 or whatever to make it look like pass and then let them through. They're not going to get out of the block, so they're going to give the pass away too soon, or they could even be downfield, too far downfield, and then now you've got an ineligible receiver downfield. So a lot that can, I say, I love the screenplay. But there's a lot that goes into a screenplay to make it successful.
There's a lot of practice time that goes into that one play because of all the different people that are involved in it and all the things that can go right but can also go wrong. So you really have to devote a lot of time to it. But the kids like it. It's a play that the kids like to run. It's a high confidence play. And if you're a passing team, you have to have a screen. If you're not going to be a passing team, there's no point in doing it. But if you're going to throw the ball around, and we like to throw the ball around, you have to have a screen, you have to have a draw, you have to have some type of counter off the screens, or rather off of the pass, to complement one another.
This week, Poughkeepsie. Next week, Rye. Tell us about Rye. Have you scouted them yet, or have you seen anything on film with Rye, or is it just something that you're going to have to go out and do some work on them?
We don't really know very much about Rye, except that they're an excellent ball club. Dino Gar has done an outstanding job down in Rye since he took over the coaching position there. I think as we're talking now, this is Friday evening, they're ranked number 3 in
I believe
Conference 2.
4-1, I think.
Yeah, 4-1. Coincidentally, we did both lose to the same team, Tappan Zee. So it should be a very good game. We expect a tough game, a real tough game from them. They've beaten some excellent clubs. They've beaten Brewster. They've beaten, I believe, Nyack. So,
Nyack and Brewster, two good ball clubs.
Excellent ball clubs.
That's unfortunately a game that I'm gonna miss because I'll be on special assignment on the 27th. My daughter is getting married that day, so I have the choice of either the game or going to the wedding. But I know get all the crossed eyes and everything if I don't make it. After Rye, the big one was Somers, at Somers.
Well, it will be a big game. It depends, of course, how we do against Poughkeepsie and, of course, how we do against Rye. But Somers is going to be tough. And in watching them against Hendrick Hudson, they are a huge team. Their interior line, tackle to tackle, they're very big. Their fullback goes 215, 220.
Yeah, he's a horse coming out of the chute, I'll tell you.
He's an excellent runner. He doesn't give up. And then, of course, you have O'Keefe as a tailback. And O'Keefe, he can run. He can run inside, he can run outside, and Munson will open up those holes for him. And when Munson carries the ball, he has a nice line opening up the holes for him on the tackle-to-tackle plays. They're going to be tough.
Notice Munson on defense. He was outstanding. He seemed to be wherever that ball was in the game we did last week. Last week. Mm-hmm. He just seemed to be all over the field defensively. Offensively, you don't really see that much of him. You don't hear that much because he doesn't carry the ball. Yeah, but he does. He is a good blocker. Yeah, he gets up there, and they do not throw the passes that much. They've got the ground game, and the Sailors in that game, I thought they might have been intimidated by the size of the line, but again, it was a close game for the first half, and it opened up. And these are keys, I guess, that you're going to have to impress upon your kids also. Don't let the size intimidate you, number one. We're just as smart as they are, and also, if we make a mistake, you can't let them capitalize on it. And there were times where Somers did not capitalize on the mistakes of the Sailors, and Hendrick Hudson held them. I always said Hendrick Hudson's got a great team. They'll give here and there, but you get them inside that 20, then they're a different ball club. They don't really give up the yardage that much. Then, of course, after the Somers game, then we go down to Hendrick Hudson, which should be very that's throw them all out.
That doesn't mean a thing, and it's a game that we enjoy and we look forward to playing, and so do they. And it's been a nice rivalry, and we have a lot of respect for the Hendrick Hudson football players and their team. I tell you, even that game against Somers, they showed you something. They did not give up. They played hard from the opening kickoff to the final play, and that's something that Vinny and Carrico and people down at Hendrick Hudson can be very proud.
Yeah, well, of course, as you remember in that game, their starting quarterback, Will Morrow, went down with a concussion. Mm-hmm. Scott Rickey had to come in into the second half. And again, when the first team is working with a particular quarterback during the week, and your offense is geared, or this is what you're going to practice to try to do against a particular team, and now you've got to bring in the second quarterback, and not taking anything away from Scott Rickey. I think is an excellent quarterback. It's just that it's not the same with the offensive line. You guys have been lucky this year. You've had PJ. Who is your backup quarterback?
Brian Panzanero.
Yeah, he's that name rings a bell. Anything to do with basketball also.
We've been fortunate enough to get ahead in a couple games where Brian could come in and get some work, and he has played good ball. He has a fine touch with the pass, and he runs the offense, and we don't lose anything there.
That's right.
Gentlemen, time has gone by, and this has been an excellent conversation. We're going to have you back again next week because we got you for Rye. Even though I'm not going to be doing the game, we'll do a pregame show, and we're going to get a chance to take a look at some of the highlights of this Poughkeepsie and Peekskill game, and then we can discuss them. We can look at them on the monitor and go over some of the things. Hopefully, there will be a lot of highlights in the favor of the Red Devils. So we look forward to having you again next week, and hopefully we get Bob Schmalson here or Nick Perrell or both. And we can analyze this past week's game against the Pioneers. Again, Vinny, thank you very much. Roger, thank you. And good luck tomorrow. This is Friday evening, and even though we're going to be on the air just prior to the game. For Continental Cablevision, I'm Frank Pugliese. Thank you very much. Good night.